Let us have a look at what Simon Harris has said following the incident in Coolock.
Not protest. This is not protest. This is not an issue of community engagement. This is an issue of a relatively small...
So this is not protest. Protest has been shown to have been coordinated by the government, by the guards, and by the media to try and dismantle any willingness to get out and protest. People have been beaten, people have been pepper sprayed, people have been hurt by the Gardaí, people have been threatened by these fellas in their black suits with absolutely no identification on them whatsoever at all. Okay? People have been hounded. Housing estates have been under brief periods of martial law. Okay? People have been bet back in their front garden gates when they've come out and protest, even when they're just out recording. So the idea that this man is deriding what these people are doing, or he's only zoning in on a handful of acts that come from desperate people, he's attempting to mislead people, to bring people away from a greater conversation that needs to be had. And what he goes on to say here is classic psychological projection, where you attribute a motivation of your own onto a person outside of yourself. Okay? This is watch what he's doing. So he attributes this to
number of people who think that they have a right to do whatever the hell they like in this country, who show absolute disdain for the laws of our land, disdain for the men and women of An Garda Síochána.
So what he's doing there is describing his whole career and all the politicians in the Dáil at the moment, their career, okay, bar one or two maybe. Okay, so he's saying that the problems here are a relatively small group of people that believe that they can do whatever the hell they want in this country, and that their motivations and their desires trump the laws of the land in this country. What he's and he's trying to say that he's describing these protesters. He's not. He's describing what men like him have been doing to this country for years, and women. Okay, classical psychological projection. It never fails.
Disdain and disrespect for people going out and doing a day's work. Like,
so he's saying that people are showing a level of disdain and disrespect for the Garda Síochána. Simon Harris, there's mountains and mountains of video showing the opposite is the case. And it will come out, and enough people will start to see this, as they're doing already. And this man's hair will fall out when that happens. You see him running from questions in the street. What happens when he starts getting investigated and charged with this sort of stuff? With absolute tyranny. Okay? So is he given the green light for these? Who's he in conversation with around this? What does he know about this? Has he been sitting in on meetings with the guards around this? And like, the sum of the man is shown here in a second. Like, just listen to this.
The security guard. That security guard went out yesterday and went to work to earn a living, to support his family, and he ended up seeing a situation where his digger was setting fire.
So Harris believes that a security guard went to work, and it's so terrible on him because as he was in work as a security guard, he went outside and his digger was on fire. That begs some interesting questions here. So who is the security guard? Is he part of a legitimate security firm? Or is he working on the digger as well? Is he just a handy man that you brought in there that can do all sorts of things? So which is it? Or is he just making up this random story in an attempt to feed into people's hearts and emotions? Because he's the most emotionless person you could come across.
So you'll excuse my lack of tolerance for any discussion around would a bit more engagement have assisted in the situation.
People don't want engagement. People are quite blatantly saying they don't want any of these people coming in. And what Simon is doing here, and this is the greater conversation that I was speaking of a couple of minutes ago, what Harris is doing here is attempting to take the heat out of the conversation and away from the government.
I'm not going...
And move it on to the actions of a small few people who have been frustrated no end. They've not been listened to. Okay, they've not been listened to. And what he's attempting to do is bring the conversation away from the responsibility and the blame essentially on this government and move it on to a small group of people that would have done X, Y, and Z. He doesn't want to talk about what the guards might have done. Because, and here's a way of like gauging how honest the person is. So if Simon Harris is an honest human being and an honest man and a legitimate leader of anything, he would come out and say, look, as it is, the locals have protested, they said they don't want this, but we're in a position where we can't allow that, it has to go ahead. So we're just going to continue on doing that. And I'm aware that the Gardaí may have overstepped in some areas, and we'll address that. And also for people to engage in property damage as a result of not being listened to, that's not, there's better ways of going about this. So that, something like that. He should have come out and said something like that if he was an honest human being. But he's not. He only wants to lay the blame on those who are going against him, which would be the people that he's there to represent. So that the people that pay this man's way are going against the designs that he has for those people. And instead of being honest about it, he's trying to cover up that fact. And he's trying to absolve his government and himself of any responsibility on the chaos that we're seeing unfold in this country. And a lot of it is due to Gardaí with a two-tier justice system, a willy-nilly approach of just battering people and not recognising any sort of legal standing these people might have in terms of protesting. They're overstepping everything, and they're just repeating the mantra of Public Order Act Section 8. Okay? And this man, he's not interested in any of that. He's not interested in the truth. This man is a deceiver. He's only interested in turning the middle group of people, the centre group of people, against those who are out protesting. And those who are out asserting the fact that they don't want their areas unrecognisable in a matter of years. What this man is using the weight of his government and his role to do is subject Irish people to something that they don't want, something that is only going to have negative consequences regardless of what they look like. And he's trying to demonise these people in the eyes of the majority of Ireland, okay? That's what he's up to here. He is no more than a spin artist. He's a propagandist. That's all he's here to do, is divert attention away from legitimate conversations and turn them on to less pressing conversations. That's all he's here to do, is to turn the attention and focus away from himself so he can walk away in a few years' time hands clean after destroying and disrupting countless lives in this country. And he's responsible for many deaths in this country as well. This man is a deceiver. He's a disgrace of a human being. And that's what his job is at the moment, is to turn Irish people against each other. That's what he's doing, while hiding the fact that he's to blame for the chaos that you're seeing. So that's what you're at. This man is a peculiar human being, and I don't believe he has the mental or the emotional capabilities of having any sort of handling of an office that allows him to have any sort of power over people. This man is an abomination.